Homesteads and Homeschools as part of the Liberty Hippie Podcast Network. If you like what we do, be sure to check out This Week in Liberpods, Peace Freaks, Cannabis Heals Me, and Free Market's Green Earth. We're living proof that libertarian doesn't mean washed up Republican.
Well, hello there. How are you today? Welcome back to another episode of Homesteads and Homeschools. I am your host of this fine production, the Liberty Hippie, here with you for another week, just like last week, and most likely I will be here next week. This is episode number 80, which means you can find the show notes at homesteadsandhomeschools.com/080. It's very complicated. My guest today is a repeat offender. He was back on in episode number 31 when we talked about pork and pigs and slanging meat and all that good jazz. So go check that one out if you haven't already. And so he's on today. Mr. Josh Pierce is on today to talk about Ranch Manger Open. And I will let him do all the talking about it. Yeah, we'll just get into it. So let's go plant those Liberty seeds with Mr. Josh Pierce. My guest today is back. He's back again. Had him on back in episode 31, talking about some pigs and stuff. So Josh is here to talk with us today about something else he's got working on. So Josh, thank you for coming back on, and welcome back.
Thanks. Glad to be back.
Yeah. So I know you've expanded a little bit. I think your last time we talked, you were doing mostly pork, right? You were selling pork, and then you might have had some beef on the side or something. So are you still doing that, or what are you up to now?
Yeah, we're still doing the pork. We are still in the process now of actually building our beef herd.
Okay.
So we're still probably about two and a half years out from having beef finally hit the market. We're playing with a miniature breed, which for a lot of people without a ton of acreage is actually a good way to go. So we've got a little Dexter heifer, Irish mini breed, supposed to be top quality, grade A milk, and the beef is supposed to be comparable to Kobe. So we're playing with that and going to see how that goes.
Interesting. So when you say you're playing with it, what do you like? Are you mixing it with something else? Are you trying to get a herd of just that going on, or?
We are right now in the process of finding a Dexter bull. Ours is coming in next year. We had to wait so we could get one that's unrelated. But we've got a couple leads on a few people here with a Dexter bull that we might be able to lease out to go ahead and breed with. And it's about 24 months, so 2 years until butcher on the calf. And then we'll know for sure if the beef quality is as great as everybody keeps screaming about or not.
Well, like I've heard of like the miniature goats, miniature sheep, all this miniature whatnot. I don't think I've ever heard of miniature cows. Are they like a common? Like, how far do you have to go to find one of those?
Not very, actually. So the rancher that we got our heifer from, I found in a Facebook group for Dexters. He just happened to be down south. There was actually a group dedicated to Arizona. So I was able to jump in and start hearing a little bit about them, some of the pros and cons. And, the cons, obviously less meat. They're a lot smaller. The pros are they eat a lot less. So our heifer eats about half of what one of our horses eats in a day.
Nice. Yeah, horses eat a lot. That's all they do, I think, is just eat and eat. So what's the meat to bone ratio like on a miniature? Is it comparable to like if you sized up to like a regular size cow, or is it more bone? You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're still with a mini. From what I've read, I don't know the exact numbers. We haven't run any in yet. But it's still about 40-45% yield.
That's not bad then. That could be something interesting for a backyard project. Can you get like frozen bull semen, I guess you want to call it? I don't know. Can you are they not that popular? You can, okay.
You can. They do have it available. It's just, it can be a little pricey, depending on what you're looking to breed with.
Okay. Yeah, I have a in-law, I guess, an in-law, who he was doing beef cattle, I think, and then got out of that, or maybe they were doing dairy, and he got out of that and went into the I don't know, insemination business or whatever you may call it, and I guess he makes decent money.
I don't want to be on the gathering end of that.
No, not at all. But okay, all right. And I'm curious. So the pork's been going all right for you guys?
Yeah, still going good. We've actually increased our yield a little bit, so we're actually running close to 70% yield right now. So figure average 63 on a hog. We're up between 68 and 70%. So I'm real pleased with that. The problem we're having right now is we're selling out faster than we can produce.
Okay.
So it's a matter of trying to get our production up. We just got a little boar. Finally brought him in a couple of months ago. So probably about another 4 or 5 months, he'll be ready to do his job and, pay his way.
Good deal, man. So how the whole COVID thing and all that, did you see business kind of pick up a little bit? Are people looking for that? Or was it, so I know when I was going to the store and stuff, I feel like pork wasn't too hard to find. I know beef, almost doubled in price, if not more. I know how that affected you.
Here, pork, we'd go to bashes and, it got to the point we were selling everything we had. So we didn't even keep any back for us. So we had to go to the store and get the nasty stuff. But we'd go into bashes or something, or Walmart even, and we'd see, pork prices going up. Last year, we were selling our sausage at $6.49 a pound. And we were getting people going, oh, wow, that's expensive. Bacon was at $9.99 a pound. They're like, oh, that's high. Now if you go to the store out here and you look, we're actually right about where the store's at. The benefit to us is grain prices stayed the same, which meant we were able to keep our prices the same. We didn't have to up our prices. So I was reading somewhere a couple of weeks ago that Walmart on their meat anyway was upping prices something like almost 40%.
Wow.
I don't know how accurate that is. I don't work in that area. But it's there. It looked to me like there was a lot of price gouging going around nationwide.
Yeah, it was one of those things. It was kind of funny because I remember, with beef, it was, you'd find it on the cheap for on sale. It was $1.99 for the fat stuff, right? And
right.
And now, I was looking at it the other day, it was, I can't remember, it was $3.99 or $4.99 a pound. It was man, it's wild, but it changes your diet. I didn't know if and at those prices, you can go find your local farmer who's, growing his stuff in the backyard. And that's why I was curious if people came to you more, because some prices are comparable. So you might as well get it from,
We did. We actually had a lady, we actually just delivered hers to her about 2 weeks ago. She actually called shortly after this started and she's like, I want to buy a whole hog butchered. And, I'm like, okay, you understand the price on this, right? This is what the cost is with processing included. And she goes, yeah, that's fine. Okay. So she paid her deposit and I told her it was going to be probably a month or two. We didn't have one that was ready. So at that point, it was a mad dash to get our hands on one that was close to market weight. So we ended up going to our breeder, who feeds the exact same way we do, which is helpful. They just had a litter hit the ground, and then they had a litter that hit about 5 months ago. So we were able to grab one of the older ones and, same feed, they get it from the same place. So we were able to get that one in. I just delivered a pork to her about 2 weeks ago. So she was pretty pleased to have that one back. But she was telling me with the COVID thing, her husband's a respiratory therapist at the hospital there in Sholem. And said that he's been busy, but he's not seeing, the same issues that the media is screaming there are. That they're not as busy as everybody's making it sound. And I mean, we're right off the Navajo res. They had that thing, nobody in, nobody out. It was completely locked down.
Was it?
Yeah. And now, Arizona being one of the fastest growing COVID cases, since they started to open everything back up, it's it's crazy. We're having to keep real close eye on my wife now. She's got some medical stuff going on and no immune system anymore. But
yeah, it's one of those things. I think it's scary for very particular demographic, and for the rest of people, it's probably not that big of an issue, but I don't know. So you are growing your herds, you're getting more and more animals, and like you said, you got to wait for your bull, your little mini bull to come in. Why do you have to wait? Why can't you get it from a relative of your heifer? Or what are you waiting on?
We don't want to inbreed. So the bull he had dropped this year was a brother to the heifer that we got last year. So if we got him, bred him, well, then we have inbreeding, and you have all sorts of issues with the calf, and we want to keep our herd clean. So next year he's got a new bull and a new cow coming in. He's breeding those two, and he'll be able to get us an unrelated bull. So this year, what we're planning on is getting a hold of another rancher here that has a Dexter herd and see if he will lease his bull out to us to breed our heifer with.
How, with inbreeding and stuff, how big of an issue is that? And does it, because I know like when I did rabbits, for a few generations, it's not an issue. If you change things up every, little bit here, is as you get, I guess, as I understood it, or as I think I imagined it to be, as you get like, with bigger animals, there's probably less forgiveness for inbreeding. Is that, do you know anything about that?
Yeah, it's so here, if you go to market and there's any inbreeding in the past, it severely devalues the animal. I know another rancher up here had a bull get in with one of his cows that was related. And so they had an inbred calf, and word got out on that one, and he only got like 40 cents a pound for that calf. And I mean, I'm like, man, hog prices are freaking higher than that right now, and they're in the dirt.
That's crazy. Does it,
so it's,
does it matter? How much does it really matter at the end of the day? With the inbreeding and stuff.
At the end of the day, if you're going down one generation and you're just butchering it straight out, in reality, it's not that big of a deal. We've got a gilt that we picked up that was in a pen with her dad and her brothers who were not neutered since they weren't castrated. Well, yeah, I'm pretty sure she was covered a couple times. So I'm waiting now to see if she does farrow. If she does, then the whole litter gets butchered, because we don't want to use anything that's inbred later on as a replacement, because it can increase the risk of birth defects or, disease and stuff like that, or at least susceptibility to disease. So we try and keep everything as clean as possible, as pure as we possibly can. Rabbits, when we're doing our meat rabbits, we'll do father, daughter, mother, son, and then that litter gets butchered out. We don't sustain it more than that first generation. Yeah.
I think that's because, I don't know, I always felt like it was with the smaller animals, or just you could get away with it a little bit, kind of half siblings or whatever for a generation and be okay. But you did have to kind of stir it up eventually, which, makes it, can make it tricky for, kind of backyard homesteader type when you try to get, like a little goat herd or a couple of pigs going and dairy and stuff like that, to try to keep it fresh, and to keep it all under control there. So I don't know, you have been working on something there, to help keep it all straight, because you can keep it all on paper, right? All the lines and stuff you can keep on paper. I know when I did meat rabbits, and we had blue Americans, and they were pedigreed or whatever, and and I was able to keep the lines situated, and I had on my filing cabinet, I had a file on each of them, and all the drawn out, but you've something that's made it a lot easier. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we've actually, as of the first of this year, we acquired a software product from a company in Colorado. It's called Ranch Manger Open, mainly because the licensing right now is the desktop software itself is free to download, use. You don't have to pay anything. That might change in the future. I haven't decided what direction we're going to go as far as licensing and stuff. But actually, let me open it up here so I can actually talk a little bit about it. I'll just use the dev version. So currently I'm working on a module specifically for tracking swine. It already does camelids, so llamas, all that good stuff. Sheep, goats, dogs, it even does canine. Wildlife, because I know in some places, it's perfectly fine to breed and raise deer, which, I wish that was here. I love venison. But it also does cattle and equine. So currently I'm working on a swine module for it. So if you go into your cattle herd, and I've got some of this on our YouTube and stuff like that, where I'm starting to walk through the different modules individually and kind of give an overview of them. It's just been a little while since I posted. I think something like 5 months. Got hung up with, a bunch of other stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But so what it does is, it tracks various information for your animals. So I'll specifically go into cattle module. But what you do is when you enter your record, you've got a display name and then your name. So if you name you got a cow, you name her Bessie, and you've got her plastic tag at A195. You can have the display name set as A195-Bessie, and that's what will show up in the software. But it tracks your plastic tag you enter, your metal tag, brisket tags, any tattooing, registration numbers, tracking numbers, and what country they're for. So if you microdip them, you can put your tracking number in it for, say, the U.S., and then you put in who the breeder was. So you can track who bred what, your gender, the sire, dam, or surrogate dam if it was unknown, if it was an embryo, your breed, horns, whether it's pulled, scurred, whatever, birth date, birth weight, birth ease, and color. So you track all that information you put in there. If it's purebred, you can mark that. Well, now it comes into tracking EPDs. So if you're running a registered purebred herd,
mm-hmm.
you can track your EPDs in the software itself.
What is that EPD?
EPDs are expected progeny differences. So basically it allows you to look at the breeding patterns and histories of two animals, look at those numbers, and be able to determine whether you're going to get a pretty good calf off of those two pairs breeding or not.
I was unaware of that.
I personally don't use them. I don't use them because they're a real pain in the butt. It's a lot of craziness, and so I don't use them. But most people with registered herds will actually use those. You can mark the animal as a twin or triplets or whatever, because everybody knows once in a while you'll have a cow drop too. Age verified. So if it was born on your property, you can mark age verified. But you also have to have a government registration number assigned. And then you can mark it for sale, mark as a feeder if you're just going to butcher it out. or not managed. If, your neighbor has two head that are grazing in your pasture with your animals, you can enter them into the software and then put not managed. And then when you go to feed, or, when you go to sell, it won't come up in the list of your animals. Then you can track, your weaning date, weaning weights, your yearling dates. You can set them in your groups. So if you've got, one group that you're breeding in September, one group that you're going to breed in November, you can have them in separate groups and be able to identify them by that. Event history. So any kind of event that can happen. So medical treatments, you can track it. Pregnancy tests, milking, feedings, body scores, embryo transplants, showing the animal, weighing it. You can import information from a scale head or from an RFID wand. So you could have, if you're running cattle, you could have one of your cows run up into a chute. You hit them with an RFID wand, and the software just pops up the record for that animal.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of stuff there, and I know
there is.
It sounds intimidating, and I think
it does.
But because when I started using it for like our goats and stuff, right now I don't have all of that fancy stuff, but for my purposes, I'm able to put in like the birth dates. I'm able to put in, the body scores and their weights, and I can track all of that information. That was all stuff that I had kept on an Excel sheet somewhere that, I'm trying to remember, I got to go find it. And, when did I last worm them and all that stuff. And that has a place for all of that. And when I pull up that animal, all that information is there. And it's something, and I think
right.
I will probably grow with it. You know what I mean? Like it's there, and I'm going to, as my goats get older and as we get more of them and stuff like that, I'll be able to utilize, a lot more of that. I think another thing that I
right.
thought was, because you can, when you enter in their lineage, their parentage, and there was an option that let me kind of see if will this work or will this not work? Like, is there too much inbreeding? Is there too much, are they animals related? And I think you can set it to go back like a certain number of generations or something like that, or maybe it's built in, so that it tells you like there's, so much percentage of a cross, between.
Right.
And it was, I don't know. I appreciate it. I shared it with a couple of people that, I think I've started to use it for that purpose, just to kind of manage, what you have, because it can get sloppy real fast if you're not careful, and to have it in one concise place like that is definitely
it
useful.
Can get real messy. I love the pedigree sheet. I love that ability to detect inbreeding. You can even go into AI and breed animals. You can put all that in, but the detecting inbreeding is absolutely amazing. I absolutely love it.
Because that's something like when you have a smaller herd that you can run into. And even if you're, getting animals, like you're trading a buck with somebody down the road, you as long as you're putting that information in there, that'll pop up. And that's not something you're going to have, I'm not going to go through my paperwork and look back, 2 or 3 generations on these goats that, that'll flag it for me.
Right. Yeah, that actually helps a ton. If you've got, in your case, if you've got 20 goats out in one pasture and you're going to turn a buck out, you could actually run that against it and find out, is this going to be inbred with any of the does that I've got in there? And you can know ahead of time. So then you can decide, okay, do I want to get another buck, or do I want to just pull that doe out? It's good information to have right in front of you.
Yeah, it really is. It's very useful. I think when I first started using it, it was a little a little daunting trying to figure it out, but it's you get used to it, and it's like, oh, that makes sense now. I get that now. That's what this means. Is there any sort of like database, like where, I don't know, different breeders have uploaded their stock, their information? I suppose it's more of a pedigree question. I don't know. Does that make sense?
Not on our end. With the cattle herd, you can import information from cattle associations, which I'm going to be removing that, at least in the interim, just because when the original developer did it, they didn't get authorization from the associations, so he's screen scraping from their databases, which there's some questions of legality with that. So I am going to be removing that for now until I can go through all the legal channels and get it all done right, and get direct access into their information. Other than that, on our end, there isn't anything. That's actually something that I might have to put and look into, is having all of our users be able to upload that information, and users being able to pull it down if they buy. I don't know.
Yeah, it would just be interesting. Like, and I'm sure it probably wouldn't make a difference, but I think like with the bigger, if you had the bigger herds and you were more involved in like the cattle and stuff like that, that might be something interesting. I don't know.
I think what might be interesting, what I might look at. So I get a ton of people all the time asking if they can import from a CSV. And right now that is not possible, simply because it is a pain in the butt, not from a development standpoint, but from a support standpoint. So everything has to be in a very specific order, spaces in a certain place for it to import properly. And originally, the software did have that capability, but Lineage actually removed it because they constantly had people who had their CSV files mixed up, or they'd export from one program and it has them in a different order than what this needed. So you've got like 30 different configurations you have to deal with, and it's a nightmare. So I'm actually in the process of figuring out a better way to do it without the support headache. It's just me doing all the support. So sometimes it might take me a few days or a week to get back to somebody, and for the most part, all of our customers have been really understanding about it. But once in a while you get the one that's like, I need this issue solved now, and I do the best I can. I was actually on the phone, like Saturday, Sunday, we're closed. There's no support. There's no squat.
Yeah.
Those are my days to unwind from all the hair pulling that we did through the week. But about a couple months ago, actually, I spent probably about 8-9 hours on the phone with a customer on a Sunday morning because she had goats getting ready to kid that week and her software was down. So, there are situations where I will jump in on a weekend or something, but I try to avoid it as much as I can to spend time with the family.
Yeah. Gotta do that. All right. Anything else coming up with that? I know you're. What version are you on right now?
Right now it's 3.0. So 5.0 is in development. It's a very slow process because it's, again, just me. Android should be releasing next year. So right now, the desktop software, free to download, free to use. It's available on Mac and Windows. The cloud synchronization feature, which is a paid feature, that's $39.99 a year per device. That is only available on iOS, so iPhone and iPad. But your child device that you use with the cloud doesn't have to be a mobile device. It could be another computer. So, but that's just the ability to synchronize between multiple systems. So Android is coming up. That got delayed this year due to my wife, her new medical issue that just popped up. And COVID and, you know, all that.
Everything's getting messed around.
Yeah, that one's being outsourced. I'm not doing the development on the Android itself, just because that's a bit beyond my development capabilities. So we've got, I'm actually developing it or outsourcing it. What threw me off was I was looking for a third party who could develop it for me. It's going to cost me a third of the price to have it sent out to India than it is to have it developed here in the U.S. Have a developer come in, a freelancer come in and develop in the U.S. It cost me 3 times as much. I'm like, come on.
That's wild.
I want to keep everything in the U.S., but we're not pulling that much money.
No, that's
we're talking about 10, 12 grand at that point.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's wild.
But, the cloud sync is cool. It's one of the only things that, actually the software charges for. Now, if you want to import from Scalehead or RFID ones, that one does require a flex license, which that one starts at $50 a year, goes up to like $200 a year. It's going to be completely transparent. There's absolutely no difference in what you get for 50 or for 200. There's no difference. It all writes off as a business expense. We have some customers that are larger operations and they're like, yeah, hey, 200, we'll do that, and all of it dumps back into the software. So, it's that's what's paying for Android.
Yeah. Well, good deal, man. I enjoy it. Hopefully I'll be able to start using it more. I should have some goat kids coming around here. I don't know, fall, winter, not fall, winter, spring, I guess. I don't know. I can't tell what season it is anymore. I'm just not used to summer that lasts forever.
Right now for us, I think it's monsoon. I think that thing rolled in early this year.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, so that's coming. The swine module is due to release. Well, I've got one bug right now. If I can get fixed, I can release this thing next week. But I've spent about 3 weeks trying to find this one bug.
Oh, man.
But so that should be releasing here pretty soon. We are going to be adding the ability for lifetime licenses for Cloud Sync and for the Flex license, and then, both together. That actually came up. I actually had a customer ask about it last week. And I was like, yeah, we can do it. We don't have it up on the website and stuff right now. What we'll have to do is I'll have to send you an invoice. You pay it, then I go into the database and manually enter it. But that is coming up and going to be publicly available here soon. That one's a little bit steep in the price, just because we're figuring, this thing isn't going away. But what it does is it's going to cover, if we do, when we do move this to a paid platform, that's going to roll right along with it and cover that. It's also going to cover any additional versions that we release, 4.0, 5.0, 6, whatever. Even if we do a full redesign of the software from the ground up, as long as it's the same software doing the same thing, that license is going to remain valid.
Very cool. All right. Well, if people want to...
And hopefully we get a lot of those sold.
Yes, sir. I hear you. So where can we go to find this?
So the software is available at ranchmangeropen.com. There's also a link to it on our corporate website, whitemountainslivestock.com. Free to download right now. Support is mostly limited to forums, which is a horrible platform. I absolutely hate it. I'm trying to get some bug fixes and stuff pushed out, and then I'm going to start tackling a better support system than that nightmare. I mean, it's nice from the standpoint, other users may have run into the same issue through it, and there's one or two that'll jump in and help with some of that, trying to keep that queue down a little bit. But it's we're also going to add. I was debating about adding the ability for people to post livestock they have for sale, especially since Facebook really cut down on that.
Right.
So I think we are going to go ahead and add that. All that is going to be between two parties. We're going to have some, privacy policy updates and stuff like that to account that, if you send money to somebody for an animal and they stiff you, we're not liable. But I think that'll be a good one. We've got a customer in Egypt who uses the software who raises and breeds Foundation Arabians, which, as far as the horse world goes, pretty rare anymore. But we've got customers that are running upwards of 5,000 head of cattle into the software. And the big one I actually just found out is the University of Connecticut is actually using the software in their agricultural department.
Nice.
So
they got to have some of that government money they can throw you.
Yeah, that one threw me off. I was like, wait, what? Because I got an email about updates. They've got it in multi-user authentication. So you've got multiple users that log into the system, but it's not updating across that. And I was like, well, I don't have support for that to do it yet, I wasn't expecting, I was figuring most of it's going to be, smaller producers, stuff like that. I didn't expect the doggone university was going to be like, hey, let's use this.
Yeah.
So, probably when we release version 5.0, we'll also release an enterprise version, which will be for those kind of customers that have their own servers and, that kind of stuff. But that one's still on the drawing board.
Good deal, man. Good deal. Congratulations. And I hope it keeps growing and people find it, because it is useful even for just a few or a lot. So, but no,
it is. It's a crazy time playing catch up. Lion Edge, originally this was a paid software. He moved it to the open platform that it's on now, because he got busy with his normal job. His wife was busy with her normal job. They couldn't keep up with support. They couldn't keep up with everything. So they moved it to this platform, and support and bug fixes pretty much died. So I'm going through now trying to get all that fixed. And, because over time, there's been a ton of bugs that have come into the software. I've got a lot of them fixed right now. There's still some coming in that that aren't fixed, that I've got on my to-do list. So they are being worked on. But and we're probably going to go back to a paid platform. I want to keep it inexpensive. I don't want it to be only people with 5,000 head of cattle find use in spending X amount of dollars to use the software. I want it to where the small backyard producer can still afford to do it. I don't want to. Too many things like Cattle Max, they have limits on how many, head you can have for this price. And, we're not going to do that. It's going to be however many this thing can run, which I still don't know. I have not found a limit to where I've broke this because of the amount of data yet. I'm trying, but I think right now in my development version, I've got, how many head of cattle do I have in here? There's a lot. I go to search, and let's just pull everything. So I have 237 in here right now. In my other development project, I've got something like 1,500. Nice. So I'm trying to find the breaking point so I could say, hey, if you're running 30,000 head, might not be the way for you to go. But, right now I haven't been able to find that point yet. So
good deal, man. Well, I will put those links in the show notes, and I'll try to put the YouTube videos up of you doing the rundown there. It was pretty useful in the beginning when I started using it. See you kind of break it down. So
yeah, it's there's some issues with the videos. I might end up redoing them. I know when I click on something, a window wouldn't pop up. It would for me, but the video wouldn't catch it. So, I definitely have to go back through and get those redone. I got to figure out what in the heck happened with my recording software, but I'll figure it out, and I'm going to get those redone. And eventually I'm going to go through every module in the software. So for like the cat, like, as you've seen with yours, the goat herd and goat breeds, you enter your own breeds because there's all kinds of combinations you could have. And for me to try and keep track of all that for all the modules, my head would explode.
Yeah, no.
So, I'm doing both of those together, and probably one video I'll do like goat breeds and the goat herd module all in one. But I might split them up depending on how long they get. I don't want people sitting there for an hour-long video.
Hey, man, I hear you. All right, man. Well, I appreciate it, and wish you luck with everything. And, yeah. Alright guys, that was Mr. Josh telling us all about Ranch Manger Open. I hope you guys enjoy it. I hope you go take a peek at that fine software out there. If you like it, go get yourself a license. It's all voluntary. You don't have to buy anything to use it. If you do want to throw them some money for a license, it would be greatly appreciated, I am sure. I enjoy the software. Josh is a good guy, and I really appreciate him coming back on to share with us all that the program has to offer. So I know there are many things in there that I am unaware of, so I would do a grave injustice if I tried to describe it all myself. But guys, Josh's wife is having some medical issues right now, medical difficulties, and as you can imagine, bills add up. So if you liked what you heard from Josh, if you don't want to buy a license, but you still want to throw him some money to help out with some of the medical expenses, I'm going to put a link in the show notes to both the Ranch Manger Open page and to a GoFundMe for the medical treatment there. Go take a look and throw him some cash here if you want. Yeah, that's all for me this week. Go leave a review on iTunes. Make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys for listening and checking this show out week in and week out. I appreciate it. The numbers are growing, the downloads are growing, and it's nice to see. So get out there, sow those seeds of liberty, and we can all reap sheaves of freedom together. I'm gonna ride a hustler's dream. I'm gonna ride a hustler's dream.